reading about the likes of Hugh Bedient and Swat Erickson, sort of golden names of another era. And then we came up with guys like Stanley Carlson, and all of a sudden there appears Leon Button.
Living and born on Button Valley Road, and went to school there, graduated. But if you wanted to know what I was born, it was February 21st, 1911. So that makes me what, 87? I'll be 88 next Thursday. And when I talked to Greg, I said, you know, I've forgotten a lot of things. Wound up down in Huntington. And there was 78 players out there. Marty Merriam, now does that ring a bell?
Sure.
Yeah. He was in camp, there's 78. You could see it, he stood out about everywhere. He'd go like this, shortstop, Slatsmary, his legs wasn't any bigger around my arm. And he'd go like this, and the next, you'd think, well, there goes the ball, but instead of that, it was over the first base. That year he went to Columbus, and the next year he went to Rochester, and the next year he went to St. Louis, and he was there his entire career. 32, 33, 34, 35, we won the county league. And the other pitcher, I can name them all, but I'll mention Dutch Lloyd and myself as the two pitchers. The catcher, Bud Weiser, he was the catcher. I think he's the one that made me. It takes a good catcher to help a pitcher. I'll give it all credit to Bud Weiser. Then next we had another catcher, Teed Kofa. Now we'll go down to the first base was Don Kofa, second base was Bill Fagan, third base a fellow named Ralph Patch, and I don't know if there's anybody, I don't think he's alive yet, but otherwise from that, I'm the only one that's alive in the group, but I'll go on, he played. And Al Lundeen was the shortstop, and that's Stan Lundeen's, that we know, a father.
What kind of player was he?
Good player. He was a good player, shortstop. They were all good players. We won the league 4 years ago.
The dumb question.
Then the right fielder was Emmett Lee. And if there ever was a man that had a throwing arm that I've seen, he could put a throw from right field, home plate with either one hop or in his glove. And he could hit, but if you knew him, keep the ball up high. that was his weakness. You could buy what was the Asheville School, as you could turn left up there, turn right on the first road, and it's all big. And by the way, the only time I ever hit a home run, I did it there. The ball got away from him, I think. Think about it. We were Asheville, Harmony Merchants, we were packed. Up the third base line, cars were there. Third base, first base, real crowds. I don't know, well, that was a good ball game back then. They didn't have this. If I can go back to say this, it was the Harmony Merchants, Westside had a team, Poland had a team, Mayville, Ripley, Sherman, Westfield, all those. They had good ball players.
But apparently Stanley Carlson and you and others, if you look down, it's sort of like an all-star team of people from the area.
Every one of them was good players. And Dave Anderson, he was sort of not too large. He was quick, fast, good ball handler, good player. Squin played first base. He was a good player. Carl Carlson, center field. He was fast. And he was a very, very good glove man. Got it. That was it. Never come to third base. And you know, I can't place that man. then there's George Goodell, plays second base. He lives in Florida now. Lefty Pratt, left field, but he also pitched. With Lefty, when he would pitch, he'd get the warming up, and then now all at once the ball would take off and go through the backstop. They always thought he did that to maybe players to look, watch out, he's wild. Well, he was wild. Now, Estrada, he was a very good catcher. He was caught for, let's see, the Noah's Ark most of the time that I know of.
What was his first name?
More Estrada. And then there was Stan Carlson. He was pretty good size. He's a lot bigger than I was. That takes that team.
What about guys like Rudy Carlson? Does that name mean anything to you?
Yes, he played for Jamestown High School. He was a big man when he was a boy. I guess the way he was tall and wide, and he was.
I think he just passed away not too long ago. He was in Florida.
Yeah, but
Wasn't Rudy Carlson the one that we used to go up to the oil field and see him hit the ball up on top of the roof on that left field in that red barn up there?
Then he was capable of it.
Yeah.
In the research on Billy Webb was quoted as saying that of all the players he saw up at Selron Park, it included a lot of the major leaguers who had come into town, including Babe Ruth. Rudy Carlson was the guy who hit the longest ball he'd ever seen out of Selron Park. So he must have been
I don't know. I'd say Babe Ruth did. He played there one time.
He did indeed.
But let's not take anything. If Rudy wants it, let him take it.
Did you were you at that game when Babe Ruth was here? Do you remember that at all?
Yes, I think my father took that. But when you mentioned Babe Ruth, my dad took me to Cleveland to see him play along with Lou Gehrig, and I always remembered that. Lou Gehrig worked around first base, and I would say it as if he was on springs. I never saw a first baseman smooth. Even today, you watch TV and those. I never saw a first baseman who could move so gracefully as Lou Gehrig. Saw Swat Erickson pitch at the town picnic one time.
I mean, what was the town picnic like?
Beg pardon?
What was the town picnic like? What'd they do?
They always had a ball game. And they hired, they played at the Panama Rocks, and I wasn't up there yet. And Swat Erickson, he asked me if I saw it. He was home. Some way they wanted another pitcher, and they got Swat to come up and pitch for him. I remember that. And instead of letting him start, there was a fellow by the name of Wade that was pitching. He lived in Frewsburg. They got a few runs, and then they let Swat in. It was too late. They lost the ball game. But at that time, they used to say Swat was lazy because, you know, he went up and pitched for what? Washington.
Washington.
And they thought he was lazy, but I saw him hit a ball up there to the Panama Rocks. It should have been a home run. We only made it to third, but he did. To me, he didn't burn. I don't know, maybe he did. Maybe he couldn't. But I remember that. He just sort of, to me, he just lollygag. Made 3 bases.
Nate Dreyer?
Dreyer.
Yeah.
And I think he pitched the time that they played the Homestead Braves. I'm not sure, but
He did, yeah.
One person that I remembered was Smokey Joe Williams, they called him.
Mm-hmm.
Catcher would hold the glove out like that, and you wouldn't even see it move. And then the catcher, I think, whistled through his teeth. You know how that shrill whistle? Bang! It went into there. That was like I never saw anything like that. Never. Unless it was Johnny Bench.